These Colombian lands cultivate the fourth most popular beverage in the world: coffee. A tradition that was started almost 300 years ago. Unlike other drinks, most coffee isn't produced by a highly industrialized company. It has a much more humble origin. 80% of the world's coffee is farmed on small plantations or fincas, the word for plantation in Spanish. Colombian Luis Alfonso Murillo Hernandez has been cultivating coffee beans for more than 25 years. His small 7-hectare farm called Finca El Águila is located in the Antioquia region in the northwestern part of the country. Thanks to these shrubs, he was able to raise his 6 children.
Mire, por ejemplo, mis hijos son muy bien todos. Son profesionales. ¿Por qué? Porque es que yo los he apoyado en estudio, una cosa y la otra, con los palitos de café. Hemos luchado, hemos salido adelante. Por eso yo quiero que este pelado salga adelante.
A better future for this family meant leaving the hardships of running a coffee farm for a life in Colombia's cities, working for a minimum wage. It was a major crisis in fluctuating coffee prices that brought one of Murillo's sons back.
Fue aproximadamente en el 2010. En el 2010 yo estaba en el colegio, estaba a punto de salir. Cuando eso hubo crisis cafetera. Mis papás solamente trabajaban mi papá y mi mamá, porque mis hermanos ya se habían ido pues, de la casa. Entonces ellos trabajaban solos y yo pues al verlos solos me dio como nostalgia de ver que ellos trabajaban solitos. Entonces me empecé a meter a la finca, a ayudarles, y ahí fue donde empecé a cogerle amor al café.
26-year-old Derlinson Murillo is committed to seeing his family business through, no matter the costs, but that isn't the norm. According to Colombia's National Coffee Federation, the average age of Colombia's coffee producers is 54. Almost a third of coffee farmers are over the age of 60, and only 10% are younger than 35.
Y si los jóvenes nos vamos del campo, ya van a quedar solo los señores viejos y se va a acabar el campo, porque no va a haber relevo generacional. Entonces en la ciudad vamos a estar sin quien nos surta de café, entonces vamos a estar peor.
It is hard to expect new generations to stay in the countryside when Colombia's rural regions can't guarantee basic human rights for many of its citizens. That is the case for Lorena Taborda. She is the only daughter of coffee farmers living in Titiribí, a small municipality of Colombia with a population of 8,000 people. Since there was no viable option near her home to attend secondary school, her parents sent her to live in another town alone to finish her studies.
Entré a un hogar. Un hogar es un espacio donde comparto con jóvenes desde los 20, 25 años, 17 años. Yo entré a mis 11 años, fue muy duro ser independiente desde los 11 años. Veía a mis papás aproximadamente cada 15, cada 20 días, y ser hija única también es muy duro porque ellos quedaron solitos con los perros.
After finishing high school, Taborda says the need to make a living forced her to stay away from her family's farm. Today, she works in Medellín as a pet groomer while she pays her way through higher education opportunities.
O sea, yo no tenía como salir a la ciudad, pagarme un apartamento, pagarme una carrera universitaria para volver al campo y aplicar. Eso es lo que pasa a la mayoría de nosotros los jóvenes.
Colombia's Coffee Federation estimates that 40% of its coffee farmers cannot cover the basic food basket and other basic goods and services. 15% live in extreme poverty. Part of the problem starts at the farm gate price, what the farmer receives for their coffee. Beans are sold like a commodity based on the New York C price, like a piece of stock on Wall Street. This works relatively well for countries like Brazil, the largest producer of coffee. Many of the coffee regions in Brazil are flat, which makes it easier to industrialize. Investment in technologies such as mechanized harvesting helps drive production costs down and increase the quantity of beans. Let's compare Brazil and Colombia, for example. According to a study by Columbia University in July 2021, Brazil's 288,000 coffee farmers produced more than 3 million tons of coffee beans in a year. Colombia's 577,000 coffee farmers produced 831,000 tons, less than a third of Brazil's amount. Colombia's high-quality Arabica beans are produced in the mountainous, rugged terrain of the Andes, which means manual labor is needed. Colombian farmers say the price of coffee at the commodity market usually hovers around the farmer's cost of production. Many times, this means no profit for the farmer.
Entre la crisis del 2010 y 2011. Los costos de producción en esa época eran más o menos 600.000 pesos por carga y nosotros llegamos a tener precios de 350.000 pesos.
Felipe Trujillo is a third-generation coffee farmer. After earning money as a businessman outside the coffee sector, he came back to manage his father's medium-sized finca of 35 hectares. His motivator? A strong conviction that the future of Colombia's economy is back in the agricultural sector.
Más veía yo que el futuro de Colombia es el campo. O sea, más veía yo, fue pucha. O sea, estamos compitiendo con India, estamos compitiendo con China, los recursos que tenemos en Colombia son más limitados que en esas potencias, pero ellos van a necesitar comida, es que el mundo va a necesitar la comida, va a necesitar los gustos. Empecé a conocer mucho más de los consumos, de las costumbres. Entonces en China se puede comer hasta 6 veces, una población que es prácticamente la tercera parte del mundo. Entonces, bueno, ¿y eso es quién los va a alimentar? ¿Tenés algún recibo?
Trujillo admits he has gone bankrupt 3 times in the coffee business. Money outside of the sector is what has kept him afloat as he continues to learn about the market. Today, he centers his efforts on producing premium coffees that can help raise the price. He has also found a way to sell his beans directly to buyers in China.
¿Es diferente al otro lote? Sí. Entonces, pues esa fue mi punta de entrada para, ahí sí, llevo 4 años haciendo negocios con China. Me dio la seguridad de que mi café sí era especial. Me dio la seguridad de que este proyecto sí era viable. No he sido rentable hasta el momento, pero ya me puedo considerar de que tengo un café diferencial y soy diferente y soy un caficultor que me siento muy orgulloso por lo que hago.
Trujillo believes Colombia's coffee industry can change when farmers are able to get directly to the seller.
De pronto ellos no pueden comercializar de manera directa porque comercializar es algo que requiere recursos. Ayúdale a comercializar tu café, dale la parte más justa que puedas hacerle. Nosotros hoy tenemos un proyecto con 17 caficultores de la zona, en donde esta es nuestra voluntad, es poder mostrar para que ellos se sientan también dignificados y sientan reconocidos, que no sea solamente un pintor, que hayan 17 pintores. ¿Con qué obras? Con obras que ellos mismos quieran hacer, pero vos poderlos mostrar allá y que en la etiqueta aparezca el nombre de uno es demasiado dignificante. ¿Por qué no les das la oportunidad también a ellos? ¿Ese fue el que cogió esta semana? No. Entonces ese era.
The coffee industry is a massive $200 billion supply chain. But how many of those 1 billion consumers know who cultivated their coffee? And how much the grower made from each cup? According to the World Economic Forum, if this cup of coffee costs $3, 7 cents goes to the coffee grower, 16 cents goes towards export costs, 35 cents for roasting, 4 cents of distribution costs, and $2.17 goes to the retailer and their operation costs. Understanding the price of coffee isn't easy and even less predictable. Global prices fluctuate constantly. Availability, relative costs, access to wholesale beans, the roaster, and coffee shop all come into play. But while the cost of a coffee at a shop goes up, the 7 cents that the producer receives has not gone up in decades.
Every farm I went to basically started to be the same story, and that was farmers were not connected as equal stakeholders to the supply chain and forced price takers.
Alexander Barrett, José David Posada, and Jorge Marín Peláez created iFinca, a technology company trying to help bring more transparency and traceability to the market. iFinca's web-based and mobile app is a sort of social network, connecting farmers, producers, buyers, and the end consumer. If a consumer wants to know where their coffee came from, they can meet the farmer by scanning a QR code at a participating cafe.
With the iFinca platform, for the first time, as a buyer of whether it's green or roasted or brewed coffee, you get that what we call the last missing piece of data, which is the farm gate price, what the farmer received. So when you're buying that coffee, you have a metrics or a data point that you can use for you to choose whether it's ethical or not, and there's not a need to trust the seller that they have done the correct thing.
For farmers, the transparency helps them know who is buying, at what prices, and where.
So the idea of iFinca is to give power to the farmer. To give power to the farmer is to give information to the farmer, and that's really important. Normally the farmer doesn't have a lot of information, and that make a disadvantage in the way you can negotiate prices and stuff like that. So when you give information to farmer, you can give them like power to do these negotiations. And same with consumers, same with roasters, same with exporters, with importer, and everything is more transparent in the supply chain.
Colombia, a country that specializes in quality beans, with different varieties and special practices that add value, transparency helps when it comes to searching for price premiums.
So we have to focus on specialty coffee, different varieties, different ways to process the coffee, so we can have a little bit more of the value in prices. So there is some coffee tasters where they grade the coffee, where they score the coffee, and depends of different profiles, different flavors, different varieties, so we can achieve better prices. The problem of this is there is not like something that is transparent and traceable in the coffee industry, and here's where I think came. Like, okay, there is an idea where we can track all the supply chain and then give that value and that trust to the market, and that's is all about I think, like dignify the coffee grower to actually say to the end consumer, like, hey, we are in the supply chain, we are paying more of the price than a normal commodity price.
iFinca says in many cases it would only cost the consumer an extra 3 or 5 cents a cup to help farmers meet or exceed a living income. A much needed change, as a report in 2019 by International Coffee Organization showed that 80% of Colombia's farmers earned less than a living income. This in turn would show support for the traditions that are poured into every cup of coffee. 28-year-old René Higuita's passion for coffee was sparked when he took a course from a coffee connoisseur offered to local growers.
¿A qué sabe el café? A café. Pero entonces lo encuentran otras cosas, le encuentran otros atributos, que a mora, que a chocolate, que a caramelo. Entonces, ¿en esto qué? Entonces me metí por ese cuento.
Taking that knowledge and applying it in his plantation gave this fourth-generation farmer a new edge.
Cuando se le pueda acondicionar un tanque debajo, así como este que hay acá.
Today, his coffee competes in cupping events, where buyers and producers are invited to check on the quality of different types of beans.
Mucho caramelo, muy dulce.
en fragancia.
Without knowing the origin, the participants use all their senses to score coffee based on aspects such as sweetness, acidity, the feel in the mouth, and aftertaste.
Que lo llamen a uno y que lo conozcan por tener un café que sobresale sobre otros. Eso ya es una emoción muy grande. Que uno ver todo el trabajo que uno hace, que uno no, digamos, tiene en cantidad, pero uno es trabajar en calidad.
Ya en la sopa, luego lo he dejado otros.
René Higuita's coffee comes from Colombia's Antioquia region. The 9 hectares of land is owned by René Higuita's father, Henry Jesus Higuita Hernández. Of 6 brothers and sisters, only René stayed at the farm and is proudly following his family's tradition.
Ha sido prácticamente una herencia de los abuelos maternos. Esta finca, donde todavía acá al lado vemos que es una casa de tapia que tiene alrededor de unos 80 años. Y es una herencia de verdad que la queremos mucho como familia.
For the Higuita family, organic practices are used not just to have a positive impact on the taste, but to also have a lasting impact on the environment.
Entonces hay maneras químicas y hay maneras naturales, orgánicas. Yo lo que quiero darles a conocer a la gente es que se están tomando un café limpio, o sea, un café sano, que es producido orgánicamente, que no se echa ningún químico, no se fumiga. Entonces es como ese amor por el campo, por ese arbolito, y no fuera por ese arbolito, es por otras especies que hay alrededor. Pajaritos, gusanitos, grillitos, bueno, lo que uno encuentra en el cafetal. Es verlos ahí, verlos cantar y verlos moverse dentro del cafetal también. O sea, es eso.
A passion that enriches each cup of coffee, and that will hopefully be enough to draw back newer generations of growers before it's too late for the world's 3rd largest coffee producing country.
Yo no sé, esa pepita, eso es llamativo y eso es bueno cogerlo y bueno probarlo, ¿cierto? Eso es bueno venderlo también, bueno darlo a conocer. Desde que uno siembra un arbolito de café, uno dale amor y llevarlo lo mejor que se pueda.